Welcome back to Humbro Pie. I'm your host Jimmy D, and we got another banger for you. I'm really excited about this one. This is a deck that I have absolutely been dominating the locals with. I actually had to retire it because a lot of people are getting annoyed by how consistent this deck really played. It plays a lot differently than most Union Arena decks, something I'm super excited to showcase to you. Most people rating this thing terribly low for some reason on the tier system. I'm not saying this is definitely tier 1. It definitely has its weaknesses like anything in Union Arena, but it is not a low tier deck. This deck does things that a lot of Union Arena decks wish they could do. It does not rely so heavy on making sure that you get those raids, the right amount of raids, and making sure you have raid targets. Because in this deck, there are no raids. None of it. No raids, all synergy, Hashira all the way. We have the new Volume 2 increase that even helped us with a lot of the inconsistencies, removing a lot of the non-trigger cards that were really necessary for the coming meta here, because we do have, like I've been talking about, that consistency creep and a little bit of the power creep. This one always had the capability of having 8 cards or 8 pieces of removal, which was extremely strong back in the early days. Now, not near as strong as some decks, but still vitally strong. It also increases ability of its access, to impact and other cards that could do even more fun shenanigans. If I actually had to point to the weakness of this deck, it's the absolutely absurdity of how many different makeups you can make with this deck. Which cards do you play? Which Hashiras do you play? Which ones are 4? Which ones are 2? Which ones do you have multiple stuff? Sometimes there's just so many good Hashira cards in yellow that the only difficult part was making sure that you had something that would fit within the meta that could counteract whatever the meta might be. And if there's anything that Hashira excels at above all else in Union Arena decks, it has options and answers for every type of deck strategy that's out there. You've got ways to deal with the sideline of your opponent. You've got ways to deal with certain cards that might need to be rested versus being removed. You have certain answers to double blocking rush decks with a 4K body, mind you. You have access to have decks that allow you to kind of move pieces back and forth and play with the rapid phase tempo, and you have ways to answer some of the biggest threats in the game with some of the synergy that comes with these Hashira. You can pump characters up to 5,500. You've got the best attacker on the board to make sure that you're getting through with just about anything outside of Saitama, of all things. Not to mention you have some of the best searchers in the game that cost you absolutely nothing for playing them. You know what? Let's just get in the deck list, shall we? Here you are looking at me just glazing this deck, if you will, but this is legitimately a very good deck. That the truest and most difficult part, I have 2 complaints against this deck. 1, why is my Mitsuri without a trigger? I need triggers on these things. I know this is a powerful ability, don't get me wrong. Making her 4K body at a 0 cost, it does require an AP. But honestly, after you start playing enough cards, you're going to realize you're going to have a lot of extra AP at the end of your turn. But why does this not have some kind of trigger? Why does that not have something to make sure that help me in life? Why do I have to play with this? But it's an amazing card and one of the strongest 0 cost in the game. The second one, what Hashira do I play with? Please, somebody out there tell me which ones are the best of the best. There's just too many options. I'm kind of like overwhelmed with how many different Hashira I can play with. Obviously, I'm playing with Obanai because it's got a nice little draw trigger, and I'm playing with this new one, Kaguya, which has an amazing restand event. It has a restand, and it has the ability to switch to resting, and in the late game, you can sack him in any of your 2 AP Hashira, you can switch to active. So now the one biggest weakness that this deck had originally back in the day, if you played this deck, those 2 AP costs, always having to come into play rested, always having to play a turn behind, really felt like you weren't gaining the tempo that you wanted to get. And especially since cards like Mitsuri 4 cost, the color trigger, that one requires to be deployed to the front line. That's not always easy to do, to want to deploy a rested character to the front line, especially when you're trying to go for game, and you need those critical removal pieces. But we'll get into that in just a minute. Starting next, we got the 2 costs. This is a nice little draw discard, something I wish we had. And yellow, something I wish it was available in the yellow Hashira, where I had a nice little draw discard to get that consistency up, but I found it in the 2 cost, so we're going to use it there. Followed up by another 2 costs that also came out in the newest Volume 2. This one allows me to place a card from my hand to the sideline and choose a character with 2 AP cost Hashira and switch it to active. So we have 2 different ways here. We have the 0 cost and now this Mitsuri that can basically restand some of those 2 AP costs, and I tried to fit in as many as I possibly could because I love the 2 costs for the curve, I love the 2 costs for the power, and I love this ability for late game to make sure that I absolutely can get an aggressive start. Then we go into this non-trigger Shinobu, but it's just such a incredibly good card. I want to cut this all the time, but I just feel like I can't because it's so often I fill the board up so easily, and it's not just to do one, it's choose all. It's really easy to get the amount of 6 or more Hashira. Now mind you, what this means is you have to have a full 6 on the board before playing the card to get the 6 ability. This has to be your 7th or 8th Shinobi. So like a lot of these cards that require 6 or more, you need to be playing them as your 7 or 8 in the card combo, or even the 9 if you're trying to remove something from a spot. You keep that in mind. It seems like, oh well, we're hiding it in this board, but I'm telling you, this is one of the easiest decks to fill your board with. No raids, nothing taken away from. There's no 2-for-1s. You don't have to worry about your opponent specialing, getting rid of your raid card and the raided upon card, or if it doesn't have the ability to return to your hand or return to the battlefield. But there's so many of these cards where it's a simple special can basically 2-for-1 your opponent, because now you're losing 2 cards that you need to raid on there, and you're losing the raid. This one, anything that you get removed, it's just a 1-for-1. And sometimes it's going to be a 2-for-1 on their side. It's going to cost them 2 just to remove the 1 in some certain situations. It's absolutely disgusting. So what does this deck do the best? It floods the board with a lot of characters and starts swinging massive board swings with 4K bodies. And I'll get into that in just a minute as we showcase my absolute favorite card in the next one here. But first, you do have an option to just draw a card. No discard, just draw. You also have the option to choose one character with 3,000 BP or less on your opponent's front line and switch to resting. Can restand later, but you can definitely get an extra swing in if you need to. Or choose a character, another character, and it gains plus 1,000 on a turn. Not bad. I like the first 2. I like to use the first 2. If I can make this thing work the way I usually do, I wait until this is the 7th card I play, sometimes in the back row, after I push some things up. And then get the ability of all of these, and then maybe have another attacker for 2,500 or a sacrificial lamb if I'm worried about them backswing. Then we have my absolute favorite powerhouse. This one has to be at 4. This is one of the strongest cards in the deck, again, without trigger, which is incredibly infuriating. I really want these guys to have trigger, but this ability is just too good not to play. If you have a combined total of 3 or more, this card gains plus 500, so you got a 5k body for 3, pretty good. But when played, if you have a combined total of 6 or more, Hashira, or the leader, the one that gets to sack, you can switch it right immediately to active. So it means for 3, I can put 2 of these things out, 2 4K bodies back to back, swinging at my opponent. Straight with 1 AP, I can start swinging at this and get 2 4K bodies in the late game, and make sure that I have a 4 body swing. If you guys watch enough of this content, and you guys watch enough of these other players, you'll notice it's not easy to fill up your front row. It's not easy to maintain a front row of full bodies, because there's so much removal, there's so much answers to decks, there's so many people trying to raid upon cards and taking away some of those AP plays that you might have made, making raids essentially 2 AP if you really think about it. You got to play the card first, and then you got to raid upon it. The nice thing about raids is you have to play them from life. That's the upside. But other decks like this, they don't require that, so you don't need that. This is just a 1-for-1. You get to put this 4K body as your 7th and 8th play on the field, and now you got 2 4K swings on a turn that your opponent was expecting you to play rested characters. When you're swinging deep and big, your opponent usually can't keep up. It doesn't matter if you have impact if I can swing 4 characters a turn. And if you blow up my field, I can refill it back up. I can throw some sacrificial lambs for some quick chump blocks, and then use the last bit with some Senemi plays and make sure that I, again, am full with 4K bodies to swing in the turn, and I still haven't even sacrificed my energy line at this point. Then we have the 3 costs Shinobu. This one with step. Honestly, it's there for the double pip and a trigger. Double pips in Hashira are impossible to find with trigger. Impossible to find good quality double pips to make sure that we have the 5 costs that we need. This is an essential card for the deck. I don't like that that's an essential card of the deck. I don't like that I don't have many options for double pips in this deck. The other cards are really just, they don't do much of anything. They're great side deck cards, but you need to have this. So this step, it is what it is. If it gets sidelined for BP reduction, draw a card. Cool. Not a lot of decks do that. There are some decks out there that it does counter. It's so situational. Let's be frank, it's just a double pip that we're putting in the deck to make sure we have it. Then we have Muchio. I love this combo card. We're going to get to Giyu in this combos, but it's really good. There's a lot of double AP cards in this deck, so we're going to have a way to give it impact, which is super powerful. 35k swinger with impact, absolutely devastating. When it combos with certain cards, this thing can be 45, sometimes can be 5k swing, which is just absolutely disgusting. We have our another piece of removal, which is absolutely necessary in today's meta. This one requiring 6 or more, so this is like your 7th or 8th play here again. But if you have 6 or more, you can basically KO a 5k or less, or 4k or less, excuse me. But if not, and you've got some 3Ks up there, it can KO some 3Ks. The awkwardness of this back in the day is I never liked having to play this to the front line. But the color trigger is amazing. I love Yellow's color trigger. Super good to freeze a character for a turn and make sure it can't restand during its opponent's next turn. Make sure I have an extra way to swing into the board state to get those massive swings. Like that's what Yellow's trying to do, is trying to get more attacks than your opponent is, and that's how it wins the game. And before it was like that was the only thing I could do because there wasn't enough impact available to make sure that I can get that final blow. So I had to basically get more attacks than my opponent could defend against and play that tempo game. And if there's any deck that plays a tempo game better, it's definitely Yellow Hashira. We have this one. It's a nice little one of because there's so much rush today. I put this thing in. I'd like to put in sometimes for 2 if possible. But if you have 3 or more Hashira, this thing gets double block. And a 4K body, which is not common in Union Arena. Super, super strong to have something that can block anything 35 or less twice in a turn. It definitely can save you some times. I'm pretty sure you're going to see some content in this video where this card came in absolute clutch against certain matchups and certain playstyles. This Shinobu, pretty good in the front line. Choose up to one character 1500 or more BP in your opponent's front line, loses 1000 BP. Really, it's just a nice little 3500 body with their active trigger. I've got it as 1. I've got the alt art of it. And to be fair with you guys, I'm probably playing with it because I have the alt. It's a beautiful art. I love it so much. Going into this, not Star Deck 1. This is the other Nullify Impact, which was definitely a 4 of back in the day because of Nullify Impact being so powerful. And this character gains. This character cannot be sidelined by your opponent's abilities or event cards until the start of your next turn. So it was really good against like preventing the swings and hitting events and having a 4K body. Nice little restand capability. Nullify Impact, always useful. Just a nice little 4K body to keep the tempo going your way. This one got a lot of growth here. I truly want to get this thing up to 4 if possible. This just, again, guys, the room. This one can be 1 AP, so long as you have 3 or more Hashira. And when attacking, if you have a combined total of 6 or more Hashira, again, not hard to do in this deck, choose up to 1 Hashira on your field and it gains plus 1500 BP. So remember I was talking about this amazing card given impact to the card? You can give your Giyu the impact and then give this plus 1500, so now you got a 5K swing. Massive swings coming from this build. I absolutely love this Tokido card. It is absolutely insane. It has saved me so many games, has won me so many games. Not only do I get to play at the back row to rest a character and freeze it for the entire turn and their next turn, but if for any reason I have to put it in the front line, I'm attacking, and they attack into it, I have an opportunity to rest something else in the front line and freeze it for the turn. It's super, super strong. Making sure I immediately can nullify another attack that's coming my way if they try to return swing against me, and a 4K body. If the double AP wasn't such a downside, something you want to really limit how many of those you use, and that's why I Giyu the other one, because it could be essentially really easy 1 AP, I would be playing more of these. But you got to be careful with those things that do cost 2, because you got to really follow it up with a total concentrated breathing or the restand event, if you notice what I'm talking about, to make sure it's consistent. Then I got an impact. This one I was able to pull the alt from the starter deck, so I'm super excited to have this one. But impact 1, and when played, you get to choose 1 character on your opponent's front line and switch it to resting, draw a card. It's 2 AP, has impact, plays to the back row, and doesn't require front row play, so I can just, when played, choose up to 1 character on my opponent's front line, rest it, get an extra attack in. And of course, because it is 5, like these 2 cards here, and why we have to rely so heavily on those double pips, you need to make sure that you have at least 1 Shinobu in the back row to make sure you can play this properly. Getting into the events, I love this draw card. I'm telling you, this is quite possibly one of the strongest search cards out there. You get to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, and if you find a Hashira, which you will, because this is all Hashira, you get to restand the AP. So all this does is just, it's a card that replaces itself, and it has a trigger for restand. Who could ask for anything better? Would I want 4? Yes. Can I fit 4? Guys, help me. Help me. I have barely any 4-ofs in this deck. Of course, you need total concentration breathing to make sure that you can fill out the board much easier, and to make sure that you can recover from those 2 AP plays. And the special trigger. Nothing real special about it. You get to sideline 3,000 or less unless you have 3 or more. Hashira, which is, again, super easy to do. And 4 cost. Super good. My opponent today, the dreaded dominant of this practice run that we've been doing, the JJK. Now, for those who are not paying attention at home, this is a constant run of me saying we're running the gauntlet. So as long as this deck keeps winning, this deck will keep being the opponent. Hopefully we'll see a change in here. We'll find out with my Yellow Hashira. But as we get through this is the best way for me to determine what seems to be the strongest by putting each one of these decks through the gauntlet of all the different card types, see the weaknesses, see the strengths, and find out, are we just going to chalk this up as a bad matchup, Or are we going to say this is truly one of the better decks? And hopefully make a wiser decision on what we bring to the Nationals coming this February. Stay tuned for that. But you've seen this coverage for me at least 4 or 5 times at this point if you're following this channel. And if you want some in-depth coverage like I just did for Ashra, find the first video I did in JJK. Because the first time I covered decks, I tried to go a little bit more in depth than I normally would with decks, just to give you guys an idea of what exactly this deck's makeup is. And of course, if I make some massive changes, which you'll likely see something in Hashira, some massive changes, if I make that change, I'll go over that and make sure that you're caught up on what exactly each of these decks do. But let's get into Blue JJK. Those who don't know, this was initially banned right out the gate upon release. This deck was going to be too good, too consistent, and too dominant within the meta. And Union Arena execs and the game players, the game designers decided we're going to ban a combination of cards. This 2-cost UG allows you to look through the top 5 cards of your deck to look for a finger or shrine. I think it does say shrine, right? No, this one's just for the finger. You get to look for a finger. And that is exactly what this deck is trying to do at its best and its core. It needs to find these fingers. Unfortunately, you couldn't combo it with other cards that benefited from having multiple fingers in the yard because they didn't want you having this massive synergy explosion that allowed you to basically just KO your opponent out of nowhere with the ability to on regular, with all the draw power. This deck has a lot of draw power. Regular searching, regular looking, and regular speed play. You can get 4 fingers in the yard with this thing within a near 90% consistency rate. And once you've got 4, all you need is Shrine. And from Shrine on, the game's almost over. This deck absolutely powerful with its removal and its pseudo removal, especially with the Shrine given every turn a snipe. I don't even know how to quantify the amount of removal you have when that Shrine is going off all the time and giving something double impact, double damage, or snipe. Giving it snipe with just 3 fingers in the yard, and if you guys want to talk, I'm talking about right here, with just simple as 3, you have snipe, which means every single one of your Sukunas, once you put it to resting, now has snipe. If you have multiple Shrines out and multiple Sukunas, that's 2 cards with snipe. Not only do they come with snipe, but most of them have impact. And if, God forbid, they have 4 in the yard, you've got double impact. That means you have double damage, there's snipe in it, or they're doing double impact. And let's be real here, what are they doing? They're sniping, and they're double impacting you. So they're hitting you for 2 while taking out one of your best cards out there. Better hope you have a 5k out there. Oh wait, no, it has a 5k. No, it even has a card that with a static impact on it and benefits from how many fingers in the yard. Amazing abilities with this raid and allowing you with also a 5k body. Now 7's not easy to do, but with the inclusion of this new volume 2 with JJK, there are more cards that allow you the double pip and in synergy with the deck. This one allows you, based on how many fingers you have to get double pip. You've got this one that does the same thing in the color trigger, and you have this one. So you have 3 UGs in the deck, all of them raid targets for the UG or for the Sukuna, if you're playing either of them, and all of them leading in and helping you get some massive bodies on the field while digging deep into your deck to try to put the fingers in the yard, try to get your domain expansions for explosive turns. Maybe you want a Diversion Fist to get rid of something, but get to your Shrine and make sure that every time you're swinging, you're dealing double damage, you're taking out a character, or if the going hard with this deck, you're doing double impact damage, which will steal some games. Be careful with this deck. It is absolutely a powerhouse and still a top contender within this meta. I'd like to see how it does against Red Kenshin, to be honest with you, but it's still a very consistent, good deck. Definitely one of my top 5s if you were to ask me. Well, those are the decks. This is the new matchup. You could be watching game 1, 2, or 3. I don't know which one it is, but thank you for joining us. And of course, if you watch this, hit that like and subscribe button. Get ready to watch this content and enjoy the music in the background. Sit back, watch it. Both of these decks, not proxied, so you should be able to know what most of these cards do, but the Hashira one, definitely looking certain pretty. I hope you guys enjoy it. Tell me in the comments what you guys think of the content. We're going to keep making more and keep making better, all on our road to the Nationals Championship, where I'm hoping to report back some good news. Stay tuned for that. Thanks for being here, and as always, stay home, bro. And that's going to do it for this round. If you've been here this long, hit the like and subscribe button. Help us out. We're a growing channel and just trying to get out as many TCGs and coverage for you guys at home. Brought to you mostly by the people you're seeing scroll over here, my Patreons. The ones that help me fund and do everything I can to try to expand this channel to cover multitudes of different TCGs that you are seeing here. You like the one you're watching now? That's great. We also have other things that you might like, from a broad spectrum of the Bondi to the new League of Legends, Riftbound games, and other independents like Alpha Clash. We like to cover as many games here, and I love all these TCGs. Most of the time I take part in. If you guys are liking this content, though, please help us grow, help us get into the point where we can improve our quality of content for you, and get to the point where you guys really get the product that you deserve. Thank you for being here, as always. This is going to be it for today. I hope to see you in the next video. That might be listed up here. I don't know, editor, can you help me out?